Welcome. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Rick Helps Real Estate Show. We're going to go over some numbers here and look at what's considered normal. I told you we were going to start tracking the trends today to see how new listings were faring versus new contracts. Are new contracts going to catch up? Because that's the measurement that we're going to be watching here. And then I pulled out some numbers on new construction that I want to go over with you and see if you're coming to the same conclusion I am. But before I get started, it's really hard to smile today with the fire situation in Southern California. I've never seen devastation in this scale ever, and it's distressing. My son lives out there. He lives in Van Nuys. He's been spared. Van Nuys has been spared. Came close within a couple of miles. His studio in Burbank came close, and they missed that. Warner Brothers studio is closed. The Disneyland's closed. Universal theme park is closed, Universal Studios, and just the devastation is hard to wrap your head around. I have a good friend who son and wife live out there. I found out this morning they lost their house. My son also has heard that several of the animators that he works with have lost their homes. So prayers for everybody out there, and it's still going. It's still raging. If those of you that live in Southern California, you know how wicked those Santa Ana winds can be, and I've almost been knocked over by them when I lived out there. They're unbelievable. You add some dryness and some flames to that, and chaos ensues. So anyway, move on the best we can. Where it goes from here, anybody knows. But here's the number I've been watching. You see the big dips down. That's Christmas, New Year's. We have to ignore it. So now we look and say, okay, we're getting into the new year. There's no major holidays. What's going on? You can see the top line there, the light blue one has spiked up, and it's sitting there at 3,300 new listings. And you can see it in the ticker below. Now, where is that in relationship to the rest of the year? Well, it's about 100 higher than we were hanging at our peak in October. So it shot up at a pretty good clip. A lot of them were expireds that came back on. The back on market numbers went from 400 to 1,000 now. So people are saying, okay, it's a new year. Let me give it a shot. Now, the other number that we're looking at that we're going to follow more closely is the dark number there, and that is new contracts. We've been averaging about 22 to 2,600. It seems like forever. You can see on this line here. And today we are at 2,200. So what we're going to watch is we're going to see, is that going to climb and follow the new listings as they come up? They may not. Now, those of you that watch Nick at Reventure Consulting, we jokingly call him one of the crash bros, but he's changed his tune. He had a video and a forecast come out for 2025 after 3 to 4 years of saying 20% down, 50% down, 30% down. He's now calling that we're going to be up by 1% nationally by the end of the year. That's quite a turnaround from preaching disaster video after video and now saying, well, I think we're going to go up. I don't know why, but it goes to show you everybody's got an opinion. And we used to kid and call him the arm waving guy. He's not a dummy. He's very successful. He's been on several networks, including Fox News and MSNBC, and so he's got a phone app, but maybe his phone app's spitting out some numbers that say, well, it's going to go up. So I want to look at extremes here for a moment. So here's active listings, the highest we've ever had, 58,334. Typical, 2,643. Well, we're at 20,400 right now. So we're below what's considered typical. That's the first number I want to look at. Look at sales per month, and it says that typical is 7,165. We're about 75% of that, or 25% below that number. That's where the gap is. That's where I feel you're going to start seeing some pricing pressure. And if you've got your house listed, you already know that. Months of supply. Right now we're sitting at, here's the average, typical, 4.2. That's exactly where we are today. So of these numbers that we're following, we're not seeing any alarming, distressing numbers in what's going on. as far as the movement of homes and the number of days on market and the like. Where our big problem is here, and this is affordability. So anything below that black line is considered less affordable. And you can see, I'm going to blow this up a little bit here, hit my little handy dandy Control Plus button. And you can see that here's the affordability threshold. This is for Phoenix, Mesa, Chandler. Affordability index of 100. And we're sitting here at let's see, 79 is our affordability index. That's not bad. We were down to 73. We were down to 73 here. And you can see that we had some years where affordability actually went pretty good. I don't know why that says Roswell, Georgia, but I know it just changed on me. Bear with me here, folks. I know it's live here and it shouldn't have done that, but I'm gonna when I refreshed it, it sent us all the way down to the southeast. So I hope the flight wasn't too bumpy. Let's see if I can find Phoenix here amongst all these other towns here. There's Payson, Arizona. Come on. Mike. There it is. Okay. I thought that 79 number looked pretty high. I think we're running about 60. And we are 67. So that's the problem. The problem is affordability. Now, there's only two ways to solve affordability. One is prices either come down dramatically or wages go up dramatically, or they both happen in concert and do it gradually over a period of time. Whenever you buy a new home, especially if your first home, those payments are painful. They're hard. You're stretching. You're giving it all you can to make the payment. After a few years, you're going, oh, this isn't bad. You're watching all your friends that are still paying rent. Their rent's going up. And you're sitting there going, well, this probably wasn't a bad move. But you got to stay there. And we've kind of created an environment where people were making money quickly. So getting into real estate and staying more than 2 years is kind of antithetical to what really you should be doing. And people are saying, well, geez, I bought in 2022. I need to sell in 2024. How come I'm not making money? Here is from Calculated Risk Newsletter. This is mortgage originations by credit score. These big blue lines here are anything that's over 760. And this is the number of mortgage originations, new mortgages. You can see giving out mortgages like crazy. Everybody was buying in 2021. But look at the large percentage of buyers that have a credit score above 760. 620 to 659 is really down here on the bottom, and below 620 is you can barely see it. So that blows it up a little bit bigger for you. But the commentary here says that the bottom line is there will not be a huge wave of distressed sales as happened following the housing bubble. Most homeowners have significant equity, were well qualified, and have a mortgage with low rates that they can afford. The distressed sales during the housing bust led to cascading price declines. That will not happen this time, according to the people at Calculated Risk Newsletter. And I've been reading that a lot, that the health of the mortgages that people hold far, far better than anything we saw in 2007, where people could just fog up a mirror and get a loan. Now, let me dive into some numbers here on new construction. And I have to admit that it's really hard to get numbers to look at to see what the months of supply is for new construction, how many permits are coming out there. I found that to be a very daunting task. So I went to the Cromford Public Report and I pulled up a couple of things. I'm going to get something teed up here for a second and pull it off. But first thing I looked at was, okay, well, how many single family permits have been issued annually? And I'm looking at this and I see, so if I go back to, here's 2024, 28,000 homes, 24,000 last year, 26,000 before that, 34,000, 31. I go back to 2004 and you can see we were blowing those numbers out. 40,000, 45, 55, 51. These are permits. Now, here's where it gets kind of tricky for me, in that I wanted to add up and see how many permits have been issued and how many homes have actually sold. But I can't count 2024 in that number because those are just permits. They haven't been built yet. They haven't sold yet. So I went back and I looked here and said, okay, well, here's new home sales year to date. So anything you see here in 2024 in that 21,000 number, that was a permit that was pulled in 22 or 23, because it takes a year and a half from getting the permit issued to actually, putting walls up. So what I did was I added up. I did not include this number. So I did on this spreadsheet here, just so I could have a bit of a visual on it. And I'll see if I can zoom in on this as well. But I added up the permits of 2021, 22, and 23. I came up with a total of 86,122. See if I can make this closer. How do I do this? View. I used to be such a good Excel person, and then I changed careers. So here we go. So that's better. Hope everybody can see that. Then I looked at sales, but I counted. I only added up 22, 23, and 24. I didn't add up this year here. We came out to 86,000. So you can see on the chart here that we don't have an excess of permits versus what's actually moving. At least that's my takeaway from this. And I looked back, and permits here for 2004, 5, and 6, we had a total of 187,000, and we only sold 114,000. This shouldn't say permits here. This should say sales. So we only sold 114,000. So there were 73,000 homes from the permits that were issued that never saw the light of day. So that I found was kind of interesting, but my trust factor on that number is kind of limited. If you see a resource that's good for tracking months of supply for new construction, please pass it on to me. I only have so much, MLS doesn't collect a lot of that. The Cromford people, they pull it off of the county records. So they're certainly a lot closer than the MLS. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is interest rates. And I saw in a newsletter that I got from a realtor, and it took me to their page, and I'm not going to show their name. I'm going to hang on to my ethics for today. And because one of the things that I've been preaching from the rooftop is people are saying, and they were telling you, wait till rates go down September 18th when the central bank meets and they lower the rates, interest rates are going to come flying down, and here come the sales. And we all know that didn't happen. And lo and behold, here's another one that says new listings are up 14%. The average number of days on market dropped from 66 to 65. And this is November. Okay. An inventory of homes for sale climbed more than 37% to 18,700. Well, we're 20,000 now. It says here, with interest rates dropping again, people are going to be more motivated to buy a home. A quarter-point drop announced by the Federal Reserve Bank on November 7th will make a big difference in the type of home people can afford. Sales should be increasing. Help me understand that. You shouldn't be making interest rate and price movement predictions if you don't understand how mortgage rates are determined. I barely get it. If you're just basing it off central bank moves, you're putting out the wrong information. And you're saying, well, here it comes. They're going to go down a quarter of a point. Sales are going to go up. You have to look at the past history. You have to look at the data. You have to look at the 10-year treasury. You have to look at the 10-year notes, not just the overnight rate that the central bank does. Now, those of you that know Russell Shaw, he made a comment on a real estate Facebook group just the other day, chiding people for the same reason, saying, figure out what you're talking about here, folks. There's no direct correlation. It all depends on how the market reacts on the 10-year treasury. And I even saw something today that said that Barry Habib is predicting that we're going to be in the low fives next year. Smart guy, had him on the show once. He wasn't right then, and I don't think he's going to be right now. So, you never know what you're going to see out there, but just know that if somebody's telling you that rates are going to go down, don't hang your hat on it until you see it. And you got to see it in the mortgage market, not in the Fed's overnight market. Now, another thing that we look at here on what we call typical is I want to look at the percentage of the listing success rate. And I just stared at it just a moment ago. Our listing success rate as an average, as typical, is 69.3%. I believe that's the right number. Let's look here. Yeah, listing success rate, 69.3. All things being created equal, almost 70% of the homes that are listed get their price. Well, we're at 67 right now. So again, we're not that far off. I mean, there's some dark clouds forming out there in certain aspects. One of them being that inflation doesn't look like it's really under control, and so the central bank is sitting back saying, "We're going to wait, take our time." But more importantly, the bond market is sitting back, going, "We don't believe you've whipped it yet." And then we have the increasing amount of debt that we have, and that debt is putting pressure on all credit markets. I looked at credit card delinquency rates, and although they have spiked, they're kind of within a range that we've already been at before without having catastrophic events. So this is all going to boil down now as we go forward, especially now getting into February. My prediction has been, and you know me, I don't predict out too far. I'll go out to March. And that is that this inventory is going to continue to climb because there's always optimism in January. People are going to put their market up. It's a new year. It's a new time. Holidays are behind us. Let's go. List the home, honey. Let's see what happens. And they won't adjust their prices in January. They'll start adjusting in February. And then by the end of February, they're either going to pull them off yet again or lower their price in March. But since we don't see a lot of desperation, we don't see a lot of tight mortgages, we don't see a lot of people upside down, the job market here is good. I don't anticipate a lot of people having massive price reductions in March. I think we'll see some, and some of it will be pretty respectful when it comes to their original asking price and then the price that they settle on. Now, the average sales price, I think, will be down about 1.5% for the quarter. But the difference between their asking price, their wish pricing, and what they get will be far greater than that, because you have to add a number to that optimism. I think I can get this. Well, that number may be coming in too hot, and the reality will hit that says, "Oh, I guess I can only do this," but that's still pretty good. So let's go ahead and take that offer. That's where I think we're headed. And but the only way we're going to know if I'm all wet is just to watch these numbers. So next week we will watch again and see how I'll be on Monday morning. We'll see what kind of weekend we got as far as sales. We're at 2,200 now. We should be up to about 2,400 by the time we hit Monday. That gets us back up to our little baseline there. And we'll watch forward and see if it breaks through at any time in February and March, and along with a combination of following the new listing. So stick with me through this journey, and keep your heart and minds on California, will you? Thanks. Have a great day.